To what purpose, April, do you return again? Beauty is not enough. You can no longer quiet me with the redness of little leaves opening stickily. I know what I know. The sun is hot on my neck as I observe the spikes of the crocus. The smell of the earth is good. It is apparent that there is no death. But what does that signify? Not only under the ground are the brains of men eaten by maggots. Life in itself is nothing, an empty cup, a flight of uncarpeted stairs. It is not enough that yearly, down this hill, April comes like an idiot, babbling and strewing flowers. You're listening to the Underword on CICK 93.9 Smithers Community Radio. Take that, April. This is a show that looks for old poets in modern music, and we're broadcasting from the unceded Cassia House of the Gitumden clan, home of the Wet'suwet'en Nation in Smithers, British Columbia, from the little train car that could on the side of the highway. And if you haven't listened to us before, on the Underword, we take a poet every episode and look for songs and artists, musicians that have been inspired by that poet over the years. And this week, we are covering Edna St. Vincent Millay. Before I jump into it, I'm going to thank one of our sponsors right away, Betty's Boutique. Thanks, Betty. I was actually listening to Larkspur on CICK on the way in here, an interview with Naomi Kafka, and she was saying they might be rebranding, changing their name. But for now, they're Betty's. It's on our wall. That's what I'm saying. I'm sticking to the rules. Thanks, Betty's. So today we are covering Edna St. Vincent Millay, and you were just listening to the poem Spring by her. And a little bio on St. Vincent Millay before we jump into things. She was born in Rockland, Maine in 1892. She launched her career as a poet as a young woman in bohemian Greenwich Village in New York. She was openly bisexual, and she often wrote on topics that were considered quite fringe or edgy at that time, including female sexuality and feminism. Imagine that. She was politically active. She was, in fact, arrested in 1927 for protesting the pending execution of two Italian anarchists. Millay was actually celebrated during her lifetime, unlike some of the poets that we cover on this show who are sort of live in obscurity. She did not. She, in fact, performed sold-out nationwide tours in which she read her poetry, which tells you it was a different age. In 1923, she, in fact, won the Pulitzer Prize for poetry. She was the first woman to do so and only the second person to do so. And she is also the originator of a very famous phrase from a very short poem that I'll read you and see if you can guess what that phrase is. The poem's called First Fig, and it goes like this. My candle burns at both ends. It will not last the night, but ah, my foes and oh, my friends, it gives a lovely light. And if you guessed it, that's right. She is the originator of the phrase burning the candle at both ends, Edna St. Vincent Millay. Unfortunately, later in her life, she had a number of struggles. She was ejected from the open door of a moving vehicle in 1936, plunged down a gully, and severely damaged the nerves in her spine, resulting in daily doses of morphine, basically for the rest of her life after that. And she died in 1950 at just 58 years old. She was found with a broken neck at the bottom of a flight of stairs, and it was determined that she had suffered a heart attack before the fall. So an untimely end to what was a very interesting life and career as a writer. We're going to jump right into things, start our set with a musician named Carolyn Weeks. And you may know Carolyn Weeks from her work as a multi-instrumentalist with the band. They were the indie pop act, I should say, Bat for Lashes, which saw some success in the sort of late 2000s. And in 2009, sort of in the height of that era, Carolyn Weeks, released a solo album dedicated to Edna St. Vincent Millay. It's a weird collection of folk tunes, and it is called Songs for Edna. It consists of 9 tracks. Each one is a poem of Edna St. Vincent Millay's put to music. We're gonna cover one of those, but I'll read you the poem that it's from first. It's called "I Shall Go Back Again to the Bleak Shore." I shall go back again to the bleak shore and build a little shanty on the sand in such a way that the extremest band of brittle seaweed will escape my door, by but a yard or two, and never more, shall I return to take you by the hand. I shall be gone to what I understand, and happier than I ever was before. The love that stood a moment in your eyes, the words that lay a moment on your tongue, are one with all that in a moment dies, a little undersaid and oversung. But I shall find the sullen rocks and skies unchanged from what they were when I was young. This is Carolyn Weeks with her take on that poem, her song, I Shall Go Back.
I shall go back again to the bleak shore and build a little shanty on the sand in such a way that the stream expand. A brittle seaweed will escape my door, but by a yard or two, and nevermore shall I return to take you by the hand. I shall be gone to what I understand, and happier than I ever was before. The love that stood a moment in your eyes, the words that lay a moment on your tongue, are one with all that in a moment dies. A little undersaid and oversung, but I shall find the solid rocks and skies unchanged from what they were when I was young. Ooh,
I am not resigned to the shutting away of loving hearts in the hard ground. So it is, and so it will be, for so it has been, time out of mind. Into the darkness they go, the wise and the lovely, crowned with lilies and the laurel they go. But I am not resigned. Lovers and thinkers, into the earth with you. Be one with the dull, the indiscriminate dust. A fragment of what you felt, of what you knew, a formula, a phrase remains, but the best is lost. The answers quick and keen, the honest look, the laughter, the love, they are gone. They are gone to feed the roses. Elegant and curled is the blossom, fragrant is the blossom. I know, but I do not approve. More precious was the light in your eyes than all the roses in the world. Down, down, down into the darkness of the grave, gently they go, the beautiful, the tender, the kind. Quietly they go, the intelligent, the witty, the brave. I know, but I do not approve, and I am not resigned. That was Dirge Without Music by Edna St. Vincent Millay. And before that, you were listening to Carolyn Weeks with I Shall Go Back. We're going to jump now into two songs inspired by the poem you just heard, Dirge Without Music. And one of whom, the first one, is I'm quite excited about, one of my favorite artists in the past decade, and that is Perfume Genius, also known as Michael Alden Hadrius, who produces a pretty kind of dark exploratory mix of rock and pop. It goes to all sorts of weird places, weird and wonderful places. And his recent album, Glory, was one of my favorite releases of 2025, and I've loved almost everything he's done for the past dozen years, including some fantastic albums like Too Bright, No Shape, and Set My Heart on Fire Immediately. But the track we're going to listen to is actually from an earlier release that I'm less familiar with. It's 2012's Put Your Back Into It. And his track, Dirge, is based on the Edna St. Vincent Millay Dirge Without Music that you just heard. And then we'll follow that up with another track based on the same poem by June Panic from his 2003 album Hope You Fail Better. June Panic was very active in the 90s and early 2000s, playing sets with the likes of Low, Songs Ohia, and Bon Iver. June Panic, fun trivia, was actually the first ever artist signed to the label Secretly Canadian after he was overheard performing in a strip mall in his hometown of Fargo, North Dakota. And you'll hear his version of St. Vincent Millay's Dirge Without Music as the second track in our little mini set. So let's get started. This is Perfume Genius with Dirge.
Boys that held him dear, do your weeping now. All you loved of him lies here. Do your weeping now. Brought to the earth, the arrogant brow and the withering tongue. Do your weeping now. Sing whatever songs are sung, bind whatever breathe, for play me there is no, for a spirit who sped in death. Boys that held him dear, do your weeping now. All you loved of him lies here. Do your weeping now.
That was Perfume Genius with Dirge. Up next is June Panic with Dirge Without Music. I will be the gladdest thing under the sun. I will touch 100 flowers and not pick one. I will look at cliffs and clouds with quiet eyes, watch the wind bow down the grass and the grass rise. And when the lights begin to show up from the town, I will mark which must be mine and then start down. That was Afternoon on a Hill by Edna St. Vincent Millay. Before that, you were listening to a doubleheader with Perfume Genius with Dirge and June Panic with Dirge Without Music. And we actually have quite a bit of songs to get through in this episode, so I'm going to keep plowing on through. We're jumping right into the next track from singer-songwriter Deb Talon, which will be based on the poem you just heard, Afternoon on a Hill. And I wasn't familiar with Deb Talon before this episode. She's best known for her part in the indie folk pop duo The Weepies, and we'll play a track from her album called Something Burning, which was released in the year 2000, and it does really carry the torch of that sort of female-driven alternative singer-songwriter vibe from that time. And most of the lyrics from her song The Gladdest Thing that we're about to play are from St. Vincent Millay's poem Afternoon on a Hill. So put on your baggiest pants and your spaghetti straps and maybe put too much gel in your hair. We're going back to the year 2000. This is Deb Talon with The Gladdest Thing.
Gladdest thing under the sun. I will touch 100 flowers and not pick one. I will look at cliffs and clouds with quiet eyes, watch the wind blow down the grass and the grass rise. Doesn't each of us have a place where we belong? Could be a sidewalk crack or a sad song. Inside our searchings is desire to etch a silent thought in stone, to make a tender heart know. Thing under the sun. I will touch 100 flowers and not pick one. I will look at cliffs and clouds with quiet eyes, watch the wind blow down the grass and the grass rise. And when the lights begin to show up from the town, I will mark which must be mine and then start down. Everybody wants to be a hero or a savior of small things. I want to be champion of evening, to forget not the beauty of the in-betweens. Every one of us an orphan, our bodies born from dust of the stars. We can comfort each other in this place. I can look into your eyes and see my own face. I will be the gladdest thing touch 100 flowers and not pick one. I will look at cliffs and clouds with quiet eyes. Watch the wind blow down the grass and the grass rise. And when the lights begin to show up from the town, I will mark which must be mine, and then start down, and then start down, start down.
I wound myself in a white cocoon of singing, all day long in the brook's uneven bed, measuring out my soul in a mucus thread, dimly now to the brook's green bottom clinging. Men behold me, a worm spun out and dead, walled in an iron house of silky singing. Nevertheless at length, O reedy shallows, not as a plodding nose to the slimy stem, but as a brazen wing with a spangled hem over the jewel weed and the pink marshmallows, free of these and making a song of them, I shall arise in a song of the reedy shallows. That was Dragonfly by Edna St. Vincent Millay. Before that, you were listening to Deb Talon with The Gladdest Thing. And we've got one more song for you, but before we get there, I thought I'd read something to you that St. Vincent Millay wrote in 1920. And the reason I picked the last poem that you just heard, The Dragonfly, is really focuses on singing and music, and a number of her poems do. And St. Vincent Millay actually had a very deep appreciation of music, and she wrote in 1920 in a letter to a friend, quote, "I can whistle almost the whole of the Fifth Symphony, all 4 movements, and with it I have solaced many a whining hour to sleep. It answers all my questions, the noble, mighty thing. It is green pastures and still waters to my soul. Indeed, without music I should wish to die. Even poetry, sweet patron muse, forgive me the words, is not what music is. I find that lately more and more my fingers itch for a piano, and I shall not spend another winter without one. Last night I played for about 2 hours, the first time in a year, I think, and though most everything is gone, enough remains to make me realize I could get it back if I had the guts. People are so damn lazy, aren't they? 10 years I have been forgetting all I learned so lovingly about music, and just because I am a boob. All that remains is Bach. I find that I never lose Bach. I don't know why I have always loved him so, except that he is so pure, so relentless and incorruptible, like a principle of geometry." That was what she had to say. We're not going to close with Bach, not even a little bit. We're going to close with Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead fame. And we're going to do that because the lyrics of his 1972 track Bird Song, which was a tribute to the untimely death of his friend Janis Joplin, were inspired by a line from Edna St. Vincent Millay. And lyricist Robert Hunter, who was also a Grateful Dead collaborator, said this of the song, quote, "The bird song image came from a beautiful collage someone had constructed and hung on the wall when I was a waiter at St. Michael's Alley on University Avenue in Palo Alto, a year or two before the transition from folk and bluegrass into rock, maybe 1963. The collage had a picture of a bird and a quote, 'All I know is something in me sang that in me sings no more.' I don't know whose quote that is, but it stuck with me over the years and finally found its expression in birdsong." Now that quote is in fact adapted from Edna St. Vincent Millay's sonnet, "What My Lips Have Kissed and Where and Why," which goes a little like this. "What my lips have kissed and where and why I have forgotten, and what arms have lain under my head till morning, but the rain is full of ghosts tonight that tap and sigh upon the glass and listen for reply. And in my heart there stirs a quiet pain for unremembered lads that not again will turn to me at midnight with a cry. Thus in the winter stands the lonely tree, nor knows what birds have vanished one by one, yet knows its boughs more silent than before. I cannot say what loves have come and gone. I only know that summer sang in me a little while, that in me sings no more. So there you go. That was the line. And we're going to close out with Jerry Garcia's Bird Song. So you have yourself a great day or evening, or whenever you're listening to this. It's evening for me right now. And I'm going to head off into the darkness soon. And with it, I'll be listening to the sweet, sweet sounds of Jerry Garcia. Enjoy Birdsong.
Something like a bird within her sing. All I know, she sang a little while and then flew on. Tell me all that you know, I'll show you snow and rain. Same sweet song again, will you know why? Anyone who sings a tune so sweet is passing by. Laugh in the sunshine, sing, cry in the dark, fly through the night. Don't cry now. Don't you cry. Don't you cry anymore. La 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 la. Sleep in the stars. Don't you cry. Dry your eyes on the wind. La 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 la. All I know is something like a bird within her sang.